Hello, fellow human! Welcome back to another Dank Doggo r/slash ChoosingBeggars. So our story for today is from u/ND1 online with the title of Younger Cousin Expected Me to Give Him a Brand New Apple Laptop. Over the years, I noticed that the worst culprit for choosing beggars are usually family members. Especially the random ones who are sort of related to you, but deep down, you don't really know each other that well. This incident actually occurred quite a long time ago, and I have almost forgotten about it until someone reminded me about it last weekend. Way back over 10 years ago, I just got a promotion to a new role, and I bought some new tools including a new Apple MacBook for work. I was living in London at the time, and was living in a small flat/apartment, which means space was a premium. So I decided that I should get rid of some stuff in the house. One of those was a PC that was a few years old at the time. Back then, my grandma used to call me up every few days just to chat about stuff. And I mentioned to her about the promotion and the new stuff that I bought, and the old stuff that I'm giving away. And being an old lady whose hobby was basically phone call to the family, she passed this news on to a few relatives. One of my aunts heard the news and told her younger kid. A few days later, my aunt and her kid called up and said that they will take my computer. Great! Come over to my place and collect them. They drove over the next day and turned into a very long argument with me once they arrived. For some reason, probably due to the fact that my grandma doesn't really know about computer and stuff, or my aunt misheard it or whatever, they thought they were picking up my brand new MacBook instead of the few years old desktop. My aunt, being an adult, was at least understood it must be a miscommunication. My little cousin, though, was throwing a huge tantrum over it in my house. He kept going on about how crappy the spec of the machine is and how it would be useless to him. And bear in mind, he wasn't like an 8 years old or something at the time. He was like 13 years old. Still a kid, I know, but should be at an age of which he should understand that his distant cousin, me, is not gonna randomly give him a brand new computer just for homework. My aunt was just trying to get the computer out of my place, and I just wanted to get them the computer out of my house. And my girlfriend just wanted all the crying noises to stop so she could focus at her work. Yep, 13 years old boy crying was quite a scene. At the end, they just left empty-handed, of course, since the kid doesn't want the old PC, and I wasn't ready to give him my new one. I thought that was that, but then, later that night, my uncle called me up and demanded an explanation of why I back out on a deal. And that was not the way to treat the family, etc, etc. The phone call ended up with me hanging up on him, which led to a lecture from my grandma the next day over the phone, and it took me an hour to explain what had happened. And that led to a lecture from her to my uncle, which led to more phone calls and arguments. My uncle complained that now his son has no computer to use, and I told him that he can still pick up my computer, which is still sitting in my house at the time. I didn't get an answer until 2 days later, and he sent me a list of things he wants me to upgrade to the computer that I'm planning to give away with my own money. Obviously, I just ignored him at the time, and good job, my family always has a lot of drama. Probably stirred up by my very bored grandma, come to think of it. So very soon, everyone was onto the new storyline to follow. And what happened to the computer? I ended up giving it to a neighbor in the same floor of whom I've talked to a few times. They were in a less fortunate position than us, and their 2 teenage children at the time used to use the computers at school and library for their homework. Once my girlfriend found out about that, it was a natural place to send my computer to. At first, they refused it because they couldn't give me money for it. But we were not looking to take any money anyway because A, it didn't worth all that much anyway, and B, it was much easier to bring the darn thing just across a few doors than anywhere else. They were our neighbor for a few more years before I moved away from the block. I didn't think much of what happened about it anymore until recently, when I was contacted by one of the older of the 2 children. Apparently, he has just graduated from university and just started a job. We talked about a few things and he thanked me again for giving the computer all those years ago. Apparently, it's still being used by their parents at their home. It's funny how things can turn out sometimes. Pretty sure my cousin has still not forgive me for not giving him a MacBook though. Alright, it probably ran in her genes or something. OP's cousin must have gotten his behavior from his dad. I mean, this is why a lot of people stay distant from their family. Especially the distant relatives, there are just way too many entitled people. Every time they were somehow in contact with you, all the dramas will occur. And I think that is simply not worth it. I mean, imagine somebody whom you don't even know that well just suddenly jump into your life demanding for $2,000 laptop. Yeah, right. I love how choosy and entitled one person can be. OP's cousin didn't have a computer in the first place because his dad didn't buy him any. Then the uncles start to blame OP about how his son doesn't have any computer to study. I mean, buy one your own, bruh. The sad part was that he could have gotten one for free but chose not to and start complaining. Then after giving it some thoughts, the beggar family thought it was appropriate to demand for a free upgrade of the PC, which OP planned to give away. Some people are just sad, man. But the ending was simply amazing. Probably the biggest takeaway from this story was that one man's trash is another man's treasure. A spoiled cousin and his entitled father refused to take the PC. It ended up in the right hands. Someone who still treasures it up until today. Someone who is extremely grateful for what you have done after so many years. I'm very glad that OP did the right thing. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Dank Doggo appreciates your time. If you enjoy our content and want to see more of us, stay tuned and subscribe. Don't forget to smash that like button or Doggo will cry. Also, you can always tell us your Doggo comments, your experiences in the comment section. I will catch up with you guys later in the next video.